My daughter came home from college to visit but refused to sleep at home because I gave her bedroom to her cousin. I will sleep somewhere else, she screamed and threw her keys at me. I was really upset but didn't protest. A few days later she regretted it because I had been counting down the days. My daughter, Emma, was finally coming home. It had been months since I'd last seen her and I couldn't wait. She was in her final year of college, just 1 month away from graduation. After everything I had done to make sure she got through school without debt, without stress, without having to work herself into exhaustion, I just wanted to see her, hug her, celebrate how far she'd come. I knew she was busy with school. I knew that senior year was stressful. But I missed her. I missed our late night talks in the kitchen. I missed hearing about her classes, her dreams, even the small things, like how she had learned to make her own coffee instead of always buying Starbucks. She used to call me every day. Then it became every few days. Then once a week. No. Sometimes I'd go weeks without hearing from her. It wasn't that she was angry with me, at least I didn't think so. She was just busy. That's what I told myself. And now, finally, she was coming home. Just for a few days, but still. It was something. I wanted everything to be perfect. So the night before, I cleaned the house, stocked up on her favorite snacks, and set up the guest room for her. Her old room wasn't hers anymore. She had barely been home since she left for college, and with the rising costs of everything, I had to make a choice. My nephew Josh needed a place to stay. His parents, my brother and his wife, were struggling financially, and I knew how hard it was for a young man trying to get on his feet. At the same time, I was struggling too. I was a single mom. I had paid for everything: Emma's tuition, rent, books, food, expenses. I didn't want her to have to take out loans. I didn't want her to be drowning in debt after graduation. So I worked harder. I picked up extra shifts. I took out equity on my house just to help her. But even then it wasn't enough. Renting out Emma's old room to Josh helped more than I could say. It covered some of the mortgage. It gave me breathing room. And honestly, it made sense. Emma was barely here anymore. She had her own life, her own apartment on campus. Her room had sat empty for years. And yet I still felt nervous as I set up the guest room for her. The couch pulled out into a bed. It wasn't the same as her childhood bedroom, but I had added fresh sheets, extra pillows, even a vase with flowers to make it feel warm. It was temporary. Just for the visit. It would be fine. Right? The next evening I heard a car pull up. My heart leaped. I hurried to the door, smiling, excited. And then there she was. Emma stood on the doorstep, beautiful, grown up, different. She had changed in the last 4 years. She looked more confident, more put together. But her face as she stepped inside was tired. I reached for her suitcase. Here, sweetheart, let me. She shook her head, brushing past me. It's fine, Mom. I just need to lie down. My heart softened. She must have had a long drive. I smiled. Of course. I set up the guest room for you. She frowned. The guest room. I hesitated. Yes. Since Josh is staying in your old room now. The second I said it, I saw the shift. Her eyes snapped to mine. She froze. What? I swallowed. Josh is living here now. You know, my nephew? I needed the extra income and your room was empty, so. Her voice rose. You gave my room away? It's just a room, sweetheart, I said gently. You haven't used it in years. She dropped her bag and turned toward the hallway. I followed her as she stormed past me, shoving open the door to her old bedroom. Josh's things were there. His desk. His clothes. His life. She spun back toward me, furious. So what? I'm just a guest now. Emma, don't be like that, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. You have your own place now. Your own life. Josh needed somewhere to stay and I needed my room, she snapped. I thought I was coming home. I stared at her, heart sinking. This is still your home. She laughed coldly. No, it's not. Emma. She reached into her coat pocket, pulled out her house key and threw it at me. It hit my chest and clattered to the floor. I'll sleep somewhere else, she shouted, grabbing her suitcase. And then she was gone. I stood there for a long time. The key lay at my feet, glinting under the hallway light. I bent down and picked it up. My hands trembled. I heard Josh step into the hallway behind me. He had heard everything. Aunt Jo, he asked softly. Are you okay? I swallowed. Yeah. But I wasn't. I was hurt. I had worked so hard for her. Given everything. And the first time I did something for myself for my own survival, she acted like I had betrayed her. I had been looking forward to this for months. But instead of a happy reunion, my daughter had just walked out on me. And I had no idea when, or if she would be back. I was 18 when I found out I was pregnant. 18. Barely an adult. I remember sitting on the bathroom floor staring at the test, my hands shaking. I had no idea what I was going to do. My boyfriend at the time, Mark, was older, 23, and when I told him, I expected him to be shocked. Maybe nervous. But I never expected him to say, "You need to get rid of it." Not "we need to talk." Not "how do you feel about this?" Just a cold, simple fact. I was supposed to erase it. I don't even think I argued with him. I just walked out. Packed my stuff. Left him behind. Because in that moment I knew one thing with absolute certainty. This baby was mine. I had no money. No real plan. But I had Emma. And that was enough. From the moment she was born, she became my entire world. I didn't care that I had to work long shifts at a job I hated. I didn't care that I had to give up my dream of being an artist. Because nothing else mattered. Only her. Every choice I made was based on what was best for Emma. It wasn't easy. I didn't have a husband. I didn't have family willing to help. So I did everything myself. I woke up at dawn to feed her, spent my lunch breaks running errands, worked late nights to afford diapers and baby food. And I never complained. Because she was my baby. And I wanted to give her the world. Maybe that's why I started spoiling her. I didn't mean to. I wasn't trying to raise a selfish child. But every time she asked for something, I felt guilty saying no. She didn't have a father. She didn't have a big family supporting her. So if she wanted the expensive shoes that all the other kids at school had, I found a way to buy them. If she begged for a new phone, I stretched my budget just a little thinner. If she cried about how all her friends were going to Disneyland and she was the only one who couldn't go, I made it happen. Even when I couldn't afford it. Even when it meant skipping meals so I could afford her Christmas presents. Even when it meant working overtime while she went on school trips without a care in the world. Because I wanted her to have a better life than I did. And for a while it felt worth it. She was happy. She loved me. She still hugged me every night before bed, still called me the best mom in the world. But the older she got, the more entitled she became. She stopped saying thank you. She stopped seeing the sacrifices. When she wanted something, it was never a question. It was an expectation. And I let it happen. Because how could I deny her anything when I had worked so hard to give her everything? When it came time for college, she had options. She could have studied locally, lived at home. It would have been so much cheaper. But she didn't even consider it. She wanted a fresh start in a new city. She wanted to live on campus, experience real college life. And when I told her I couldn't afford it, she looked at me like I had failed her. "You always find a way," she had said, frowning. "You've never told me no before." I had spent 18 years sacrificing everything for her. And she expected more. I tried. I picked up a second job. I cut down on my own expenses. But it still wasn't enough. So I did the one thing I never wanted to do. I took out a loan against the house. Just to make sure she had what she wanted. And she never even questioned it. She packed her bags, hugged me, and left. And for the first time in 18 years I was alone. At first she called a lot. She told me about her classes, her new friends. But as time went on, the calls became fewer and fewer. She was busy. She had a life now. She still needed money, of course. She still sent texts asking me to cover her rent, her books, her nights out. She never asked how I was doing. Never asked if I was okay. She just assumed I could handle it. And I did. Until I couldn't. The bills kept stacking up. The mortgage was higher than I could afford. And the house, which had once felt warm and full of life, now felt empty and too big. That's when Josh moved in. My nephew. He had always been a good kid. Polite, considerate, responsible. His parents had fallen on hard times and he needed a place to stay. This made sense. I had a spare room that no one was using. And the extra rent helped me stay afloat. Josh wasn't like Emma. He didn't demand things. He offered to help around the house. He actually talked to me. And for the first time in years I felt like I had company again. Like someone actually appreciated me. Meanwhile Emma? She barely noticed. Unless she needed money. The last time she called me, it wasn't to check in. It wasn't to ask how I was doing. It was to ask if I could send her $200 for a concert ticket. I had sighed and said, "Emma, I really can't afford that right now. She had scoffed. You can't afford anything these days, she muttered before hanging up. And that was it. I sat there staring at my phone, my heart aching. She had no idea. No idea how hard I was working. No idea that I had sacrificed my entire future for her. And worst of all, he didn't care. So when she came home for the first time in months, when she finally decided to visit, expecting everything to be exactly the way she left it, and when she saw Josh living in her old room and acted like I had betrayed her, I realized something. He had never seen me as a person. I was just her mother. Just someone who existed to give her everything she wanted. But now she was about to learn what it felt like to lose something. I sat in my empty living room, staring at the door my daughter had just walked out of. The house was silent. Except for me. I was crying. Not soft, quiet tears. The kind that shake your whole body. The kind that come from deep inside your chest, from a place you didn't even realize was hurting until it breaks open. She threw her keys at me. She stormed out. She chose to leave. And she hadn't called. Not once. I waited. 1 day. 2. 3. Nothing. It was like I didn't exist. Like all those years, all that love, all those sacrifices meant nothing. And that's when I knew something had to change. For so many years I thought I was helping her. I thought I was giving her a better life. But I wasn't. I was spoiling her. I was teaching her that her happiness mattered more than anyone else's. No. She had her degree. She had everything I worked so hard for her to have. And she still expected more. That ends today. 4 days later my phone rang. Emma. I let it ring twice before picking up. Mom, she said, her voice casual, like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't just abandoned me. Is Josh gone yet? I closed my eyes. There was not, I'm sorry. Not, I miss you. Just, has my space been cleared for me yet? No, I said, my voice calm. He's staying. Pause. I could almost hear the frown in her voice. What do you mean he's staying? I thought. He pays rent, Emma. He helps me with the mortgage. He's staying. Silence. Then, fine. I'll stay somewhere else then. I exhaled. Okay. She hung up. And that was that. She didn't ask how I was doing. She didn't care where I had been sleeping after she threw her keys at me and left. But what she did do. She kept expecting me to pay for her. It started small. Emma. Hey, can you send the usual for my rent? I stared at the screen. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilt about not sending money. I felt angry. I typed my reply carefully. Me, you're going to have to cover that yourself now. 3 dots. Then, Emma, what? Stop joking. It's due tomorrow. I didn't reply. A few minutes later, she called. Mom, she said, her voice tight with frustration. What are you talking about? I'm not paying for your rent anymore, Emma. You always have. I shouldn't have, I said, my voice calm. And I won't anymore. You're graduating. You need to start supporting yourself. You can't just cut me off. I can, I said. And I am. She let out a harsh, disbelieving laugh. How am I supposed to afford anything? You get a job. It was like I had slapped her. A job. Yes, Emma. A job. But I'm a student. Not for long. But I still need time to figure things out. You've had 4 years to figure things out. She huffed like I was being impossible. I can't believe this. This is so unfair. No, I said simply. What's unfair is that I have spent my entire life working for you, sacrificing for you, and you still think I owe you more. That ends now. And then the bombshell. 1 week later, another call. This time her voice was lighter. Sweeter. Mom, listen, she said. I've been thinking. I know things got heated before and I totally get why you're frustrated, but I have a plan now. I already knew what was coming. I'm going to do my master's degree. I closed my eyes. Of course she was. And it's a really great program, Mom. It's expensive, yeah, but it's totally worth it. I'll be so much more employable after. She was so confident. So sure I would say yes. She had no idea I was already shaking my head. That sounds great, Emma, I said. I hope you're able to afford it. Silence. Then a forced little laugh. Mom, what? You want to do a master's? Take out a loan. The laugh died in her throat. But, what do you mean? You said you'd always support my education. I supported you through your bachelor's degree, I said. I worked 2 jobs. I took out a loan against my house. I did everything I could to make sure you graduated without debt. And you did, she said quickly. And now I am done. She went quiet, completely silent. Then finally, you're serious? Yes, Emma. I'm serious. He broke. At first she was furious. She demanded I reconsider. You can't just drop me like this. You're my mother. This is your job. You paid for everything else, but now suddenly you won't? I didn't argue. I didn't even raise my voice. I just kept saying no. Then after days of fighting, the anger faded. And the begging began. Mom, she whispered one night, sniffling into the phone. Please. I don't know how to do this on my own. I closed my eyes. I knew she didn't, because I had never taught her how. That was my fault. And this was the only way she was ever going to learn. You'll figure it out, I said gently. I believe in you. She sobbed. I don't want loans, Mom, she said, desperate now. I don't want to struggle. You never wanted me to struggle. I never wanted you to be spoiled either, I said. But I made that mistake. And it's time to fix it. She cried harder. But I stayed firm. I didn't back down. Because if I did, he would never change. And I wasn't going to let her keep taking from me. She had taken enough. Now she was going to have to stand on her own 2 feet. Emma didn't believe me. Even after all the arguments, after all the times I told her no, she still thought I'd change my mind. That's why she went no contact. She didn't do it because she truly wanted to cut me out. She did it because she thought it would punish me. She thought if she ignored me long enough, if she cut me off completely, I'd come crawling back, begging to fix things. That I'd break first. That I'd start paying again just to have my daughter in my life. But she was wrong. And when she finally realized it, that's when everything really fell apart. At first, I didn't hear anything about her. She went completely silent. Blocked me on everything. And I let her. I didn't call. I didn't text. I didn't beg her to come back. Because for the first time, I knew she needed to feel the consequences of her actions. If I chased after her, if I tried to fix things, it would just prove her right, that I would always come back. That I would always do whatever it took to keep her in my life. So I waited. And the silence stretched on. Days. Weeks. Months. Nothing. I told myself I was fine. That this was what needed to happen. But in the middle of the night, when the house was too quiet, when I sat alone at the kitchen table staring at my phone, I missed her. Gul, ich misste hier. And it hurt. It hurt that the second I stopped paying for her, she didn't want to speak to me. That after everything I had done, after all the sacrifices, all the love, all the years of putting her first, she still saw me as nothing more than a wallet. And the worst part? He was proud of it. I heard about her through family. She had struggled at first. She thought her degree would get her a high-paying job instantly. But she had no experience. No internships. No real skills outside of school. And companies didn't want her. For the first time in her life, she was being rejected. And she hated it. But instead of accepting reality, instead of working her way up like everyone else, she blamed me. That's when the smear campaign started. She went to my brother and his wife, Josh's parents, and told them her version of the story. Mom abandoned me. She threw me away like I was nothing. She let Josh take my place. She treats him like her real child. I could hear her voice in my head, twisting the story, making herself the victim. And at first, they believed her. I got a call from my brother. Joanna, what the hell is going on? Why is Emma telling us you just abandoned her? I took a deep breath. And I told them everything. I told them about the tuition, the rent, the luxury expenses. I told them how I had taken out a loan against my house just so Emma wouldn't have to work. How I had spent years working myself to exhaustion, sacrificing my own life so she could have a debt-free future. And how, the second I told her to stand on her own 2 feet, she cut me off like I was disposable. When I finished, there was a long silence. Then my brother let out a low sigh. Joe, I'm sorry. We had no idea. I swallowed. You didn't spoil Josh like that, did you? He laughed. God, no. He worked part-time all through college. We never handed him anything for free. Then why did I? I whispered. There was another pause. Then softly. Because you were alone. And you wanted to make sure she never felt like she didn't have enough. I closed my eyes. I had spent my entire life trying to make up for the fact that Emma didn't have a father. I had spent everything I had trying to protect her from struggle. And all I had done was make her incapable of surviving on her own. Maybe it's time she learns, my brother said gently. I nodded even though he couldn't see me. Yeah, I said. Maybe it is. Emma stayed no contact. Not just with me but with everyone. She didn't just cut me off, she cut off my brother, my sister-in-law, even Josh. Because they didn't take her side. Because they didn't fall for the lies. So she pretended she didn't need any of us. She acted proud. Like she was standing on her own, thriving without me. But she wasn't. She was working low-paying temp jobs, barely making ends meet. And I knew that because my sister-in-law had run into her by accident. She looked exhausted, Joanna. Like she hasn't slept in weeks. She's struggling. I stayed quiet. Aren't you going to reach out? She asked. I exhaled. No. Because Emma had made her choice. And so had I. Instead of chasing my daughter, I focused on myself. For the first time in decades, I could breathe. I had time. I had money that was mine. I started painting again. It had been so long since I had picked up a brush. Since I had let myself be something other than a mother. And when I finally had my first art exhibition, I felt proud. Not just because my work was being shown, but because I had finally built something for myself. And that's when she walked in. Emma. She stood in the doorway staring at the paintings. And when she saw the self-portrait, a younger version of me holding a baby, she stopped. She read the plaque beneath it. A life put on hold. And I saw it happen. The realization. The understanding. The guilt. She turned, locking eyes with me across the room. She walked toward me, slowly, hesitantly. You painted these? She whispered. I nodded. He swallowed. I never knew you could paint. You never asked. She looked down. For a long time she didn't speak. Then, finally, in a small voice. Would you like to have dinner sometime? I studied her. She looked different. Less entitled. Less spoiled. More human. I didn't know if I could forgive her yet. But I did know this. I'll think about it. For the first time in her life, she nodded and accepted that answer. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments.